Chapter 12. Who owns the subject? The block area in Mrs. Ruperelson's room is often the scene of dangers even greater than those Eliot imagined in his Beezus story, leading to a rise in the decibel level, but also to good talk. Much as we take comfort in quiet playtimes, there's something about a fearful scene that often makes children more articulate and highly focused. On this day, Costos is shouting out directions to anyone who will accept the premises of his plot. Even Vijay is drawn into the drama. "Don't go there, Vijay. It's a poison river." "Did my feet get poisoned?" asks Vijay. "Don't worry, I'm making you invisible. Touch this paper. Now I got you unpoisoned. It's invisible writing. What does it say?" "That you're invisible. Now no one can see you except me." "That's good. I'm almost dead." "You mean poisoned? Now you're unpoisoned." Life in Mrs. Ruperelson's kindergarten is not without its scripted lessons and rote responses. The phonics curriculum, for example, provides a stark contrast to what we see and hear as the children engage one another in their play. After a busy session with shh words, the subject is dropped immediately by the children, who are eager to continue describing the poison river to one another and to the teacher. "Do I see the poison if I'm invisible?" "Sure you do. Only if you're not invisible, then you step in it because it sees where you're stepping, and you can use the invisible ink here." Vijay accepts the offer and uses his finger to write P-I. "That spells poison," he says. "Outstanding! P-I is outstanding!" Mrs. Ruperelson approaches the block area. "Did I hear someone say outstanding? That's something I don't often hear in the blocks. What's outstanding?" "See, me and Vijay got a great way to trick people. This sign says poison, but it's invisible ink, so only invisible people can see it. Bad guys can't be invisible, so they can't see it, so they fall into the poison river." "How about me?" Shira asks. She is carrying a basket full of rubber animals. "I'm a zookeeper." "A zookeeper? Touch this paper and you're invisible." "My animals have to see me?" "No problem. Touch it 2 times and you're double invisible. No one can see you except for the animals." How well the children determine their new outcomes as the scenario changes. The whole point of this play seems to be the invention of stories about what could possibly happen. Dudley R. Hirschbach, Nobelist in chemistry, told the audience in a 1989 conference called Discovery that the first thing he asks of his freshman students is to imagine the world before certain elements were discovered. They are to make up stories about such a world just as they did when they were children, and always looked for a new storyline when they played. And Kieran Egan, in his teaching as storytelling, would have the teachers ask of themselves, "What's the story in this?" Whether in social studies, math, or any other subject, they and their students are to invent novel settings, plots, and characters in order to study ordinary phenomenon from a fresh perspective. We must all be reminded, it seems, of what we did naturally when we were young. The problem arises when the one activity in which the children can and do invent the story loses its legitimacy. Even the youngest children are capable of leading their teachers through the conversational byways of their own imagery. During my visit to the child care center, the teacher makes it clear that she knows who owns the subject in the doll corner. Marnie, a 3-year-old, has been rocking an empty crib for 10 minutes, humming to herself and glancing at a doll's arm visible under a pile of dress-ups. "Where's the baby?" Mrs. Simon asks. "That crib is very empty." "My baby went to some place. Someone is crying." Marnie stops rocking the crib and looks around. "Lamar, did you see my baby?" she asks a tall boy at the sand table. "Yeah, she's in a dark forest," he says. "It's dangerous in there." "You better let me go. It's down in this hole I'm making." "Are you the daddy?" Marnie asks. "Bring me my baby, Lamar." "Oh, good for you. You finded her." "Was she in a dark forest?" Mrs. Simon asks. "Where was she, Lamar?" Marnie says. "Don't tell me in a hole." "No, not in a hole, my baby." "Not in a hole, no. Under a tree, under a bush, under a mushroom, under a big rock." Lamar is a year older than Marnie and moves easily through the various options. "I'll say where," Marnie decides. "Under a big rock named Gingerhead. Gingerhead is the rock because it looks like ginger. That's my mommy." Lamar, Ginger. "Good," Mrs. Simon agrees. "Safe and sound under a rock named Gingerhead. And now I see your baby is safe and sound in her crib." "Safe and sound, Marnie sings, placing a shawl over the doll. The conversations between Marnie and Lamar reminded me of one held by George and Emily in Thornton Wilder's Our Town. Seated at a soda fountain with a sudden sense of intimacy, George says, so I guess this is an important talk we've been having. Mrs. Simon must feel the same way, for she preserves the children's dialogue in her journal, intending to read it to Marnie's mother at the end of the day. The family has been concerned about Marnie's resistance to talking about school and her quietness in general. The event reported here would provide the same useful insights at home as in school. Marnie has another gift for her mother. I did a story, Mommy, she whispers, handing her mother a paper. Read it to me, Mommy. I'd love to, baby. The mommy and daddy carry the baby home. She was under the ginger rock. The mother smiles at her daughter's newfound exuberance. It's only play, she might have thought moments earlier. She will soon understand where the best conversations begin. There are countless approaches to children's emergence as conversationalists. In a bilingual pre-kindergarten I visited recently in Houston, the children are encouraged to speak English during certain activities, but for play and story dictation they use Spanish. Their teacher tells me these subjects are closest to the heart. They express their best selves first in their home language. Jamie has been watching me since I entered the classroom. I think he would like to speak to me, but when I begin a conversation with him, he looks away embarrassed. Soon after I sit down opposite him at the story table, however, he finds a way in his story to establish personal contact. He accomplishes this by pretending I am acting out a scene with his mother. No one has taught Jamie to do this, except perhaps other children in the doll corner. His first sentence is about a vampire and Spider-Man, but his Spanish is too fast for me to pick up anything else. Then he says something that includes my name. Jamie wants to know if he can put you in his story, the teacher says. Yes, thank you, Jamie, I reply. Whereupon he inserts in the middle of his vampire story in English, Mrs. Paley comes to my house. My mother says, come on, please, and have some coffee, and then they talk together. When it is time to act out Jamie's story, he tells his teacher that my part is first, before the vampire comes, and the teacher revises his script. One day, Mrs. Paley comes to Jamie's house. Come in, please. One day, Mrs. Paley comes to Jamie's house. Come in, please, says his mother. Have some coffee and we can talk. They talk together. When my part is over, Jamie smiles at me and points to my chair. His story continues in Spanish and would not involve me or his mother, but the three of us have connected in an important way. When Jamie brings home his printed story, his parents may wish to talk about it further, for they have been made aware of the importance of storytelling and acting. An older child may not need the dramatic intervention of play or a story acted out with classmates, in order to transpose experience into words. Mommy might say, we had a visitor today and I really wanted to invite her over to visit you. Jamie at age 4 will pretend he invited the visitor to meet his mother in preparation for a later time when he has the ability to coordinate all that would be required to accomplish the feat. Interesting to me that Vivian is saying that one of the aspects of the story is like that the child is documenting what he wants to share with his parents later. It's giving him the words he needs, and we know that expanding children's knowledge is a big part of our job.